Hey guys, welcome to my room and to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a 12-step talk, a recovery talk on the 12 steps, not just how I was doing it before, where I get up and I talk about a few steps and, in front of people and then shut it down. This is more personal. This is in my room right now, so I get to share a lot of my experience. First of all, I wanted to start off by saying that I got sober on March 15th, 2017. So that day was the day where recovery was possible. Before that day, recovery was not possible for me. So I didn't know that I was going to enter recovery March 15th, 2017. I had absolutely no intention in stopping. I was 28 years old at the time. There was nothing in me that was done. I wasn't like, oh, I'm done, I'm going to recovery. And another reason why this video is gonna really shock a lot of people is because they say that you have to be done and ready for recovery, but that is actually not the truth at all. You do not have to be ready. See, I was not ready. There's a solution that I had absolutely no idea about, and all the education and experience that I've had in 28 years, I had no idea that something like that existed, that I needed. So when I moved from step 0 to step 1, happened after my sober day. See, I got sober March 15th, 2017, but step 1 wasn't taken at that time. Step 1 was taken later. See, it says we, so it starts off with we. So I have to go around this world until I hit the other person that already has the solution to show me the way of recovery. And at the time, I didn't really know about recovery. I mean, I've been sober previous times for 6 months, twice, and I've seen the steps on the wall, I've read them, but I didn't really know what they meant. And at the time in my life, was basically the same as when I got sober. I wasn't ready then, and I wasn't ready at 28, and I had to, because I have a lot of years left where I could mess up. So I just went in it with an open mind. Once I got free, because the way that I got sober was, I got stopped by going to jail for a possession, which gave me 6 months. And I spent 4 months in a program. And then by the time I got out, I knew basically the same things that I learned the previous 2 times, but I was given another chance to work it. And why my experience is more deep and more helpful than someone else's is because I had absolutely nothing, and I had a lot of barriers that I still do at 5 years. This is why a lot of people will be inspired by my story, is because some of the barriers from my drinking are still holding me up from moving forward. So, step 1 is we. It took about six to 7 months until I found somebody who I could call a sponsor. And once I found someone, that's when step 1 was available to me. See, I was reading the book, I was going to meetings, but I didn't know step 1 until I knew step 1. And I knew step 1 at about 6 to 7 months because I wanted to make sure that I beat the last time I had sober, the length for 6 months. So I wanted to make sure that I had more than 6 months before I could even talk about anything, because everything I've ever tried before I failed on. So it says that powerless, right? And what makes me powerless, I had no idea. It was based on a twofold disease. One was in the mind, right? So in here, and in the body, and in here. So these two things trigger each other to make me drink without being able to stop. The body, once I put the drink in me, I physically cannot stop. See, it's not in me right now. I'm stopped, right? But there's times in my life where once it's in me, it took another drink. It did all the shot calling. It did all the partying. Not really me. My head could say, hey, I don't want this anymore. But my body's like, no, too bad, you're having it. And it's a reality. And in the book, they talk about how it's seemingly impossible, seemingly hopeless. Like, it seems that me ever recovering from that is impossible. And it seems hopeless, that the state of mind I'm in is hopeless. And I had absolutely no idea that there was actually a way out. that I had to, you know, find out later on as time went by. And the second part, you know, the first part is the obsession and the allergies. I can't stop thinking about drinking while I'm sober. And once I put the first one in me, I can't stop. But if I don't put the first one in me, then I don't really have to worry about it. All I have to worry about is the obsession of the mind. And once my obsession goes somewhere, right? It has to go somewhere. You have to channel that obsession somewhere. Because everything I do in life, I'm an extremist, which is not a bad thing. Because once it comes to recovery, I could be extreme in recovery. So the second part, which is important, which molds in with the first part, is that our lives have become unmanageable. See, when I manage my life, it needs to be managed by other people, because these people that manage my life they will be more successful with me than I will with my own life. That's why every time I live my life, I always ended up getting locked up or put away. That way someone else could manage my life because they do better. I can't successfully manage my life. So after we put the drink down and after we take the first step, in the first part of the first step, it says that our lives have become unmanageable. So now that I'm sober, I'm not managing my life. And a lot of people get this confused. They think that it means that their life got out of hand and now all of a sudden it's controllable. When really it's about seeing that even when I'm sober or when I'm drunk, I can't control it. It's not controllable. And I wasn't ever seeing that. So now that I see that, I'm not managing my life. Things are going great in my life, but I'm not managing them. I'm not the doer or the haver of my life. It's someone else, something else greater than me is doing all the managing and everything for me. That way I don't have to. And I had to learn that in recovery, where I'm in right now and my feet are planted. And this video will show you a little bit more about how I am in real life, my personality. And that's what the whole point of the whole 12 steps is, to have a personality change that's sufficient enough, that's beefy enough, that's strong enough to beat alcoholism or anything else, you know, but to beat it where it's like it's higher than it. Like alcoholism is lower than my personality change. And it has to be shown, it has to be evident, it has to be obvious. It has to be obvious. And that's why attraction, not promotion, when I come into the program, I don't necessarily get attracted to everybody's program, because all the experience I had to go through to get the personality change that I have up to this point, I'm just like, man, a lot of people couldn't go through that. Why would I jump in to the first guy that I see that is sober thinking that I want what he has? I have to really get to know the person. Like, this is very, very serious. I'm going to be dumping some of my stuff to this guy. I have to make sure that this guy is solid. I have to make sure that this guy has got recovery. I have to make sure that this guy doesn't say the same thing at every single meeting, that he's sharing new things and his personality is evolving and growing. I didn't want to be that guy that came into the meeting and shared and always sounded the same. Oh no. So I'm doing something about it. A lot of the stuff that I'm saying right now isn't the stuff that I said yesterday or a week ago. This is just a video I'm making just so you guys can get to know me better, because I've never done something like this where it's just me talking to the camera. So let's get to the second step. So how well I understand the first step is how well I understand the second step. Now, if I'm confused about the first step, my second step will be sloppy, right? If I don't understand exactly what I suffer from, that it's obsession and allergy, that this triggers, the obsession triggers the allergy and the allergy triggers the obsession. So this goes on round and round, which makes you powerless for my experience, 10, 11 years, and I didn't see it. Failure to see this and the fact that I cannot manage my own life even while I'm blood raw sober, failure to see these two will make no reason for a step for you to move forward. You know, that's why each step, it's like having understand this, you're ready to move on to the next one. And this takes time. See, a lot of people rush the second step. See, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, you're already on step 2. You're already believe. When really, like, do you really believe? Like, can you really say that you came to believe in a higher power? Can you really say that when you're alone by yourself and mean it and own it and run with it every day, 24/7? 24/7 can you say that a higher power is working in your life? And a lot of people, you know, their sponsors tell them what step the sponsee's on, you know? And a lot of times the sponsee has to happen for them themselves. The sponsor just kind of guides them, you know, which me, like, I'm a sponsee right now. You know, I still am a sponsee. And that, because I'm a follower, I've been following so well, I end up becoming a leader. I don't even need to try. It's effortless. It's effortless. There's things that in life that I do where I have to try over and over, but this is effortless. So I go from sponsee to sponsor by remaining a sponsee and remain being teachable. So round up the second step. It dawns on you after you have the first one and you're going to meetings and you're talking to your sponsor, and over time something will happen. It'll come down and it'll just be like permanent basically. And it would be called came to believe in a power greater than ourselves. And that the second part is could restore us to sanity. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to be restored now. It means that you're just now seeing that this thing could do what that obsession and allergy that I talked about earlier could actually fix. And it's a maybe. This doesn't happen for everyone, but it's a maybe. Second one is that the sanity. It's to be able to, like, all right, whenever someone goes to court, right, they're saying, okay, you're saying you could take a guilty plea or you could take a not guilty plea. You know which one you could take. See, this is like, no, you're incompetent. Like, you don't know whether you're guilty or you're innocent when you're in the courtroom. This is kind of what happens with alcohol and the insanity, because many pursue it into the gates of insanity or death. And what they mean by insanity or the gates of insanity is the fact that where you can't come back from it. Like, it's so powerful, you can't come back. Like, there's no coming back. You're shot out so far. Like, alcoholism or whatever took you so far that you can't be restored. It's too long. It's too late. And had many pursue it. So there's like a bigger number of people that pursue it to the gates of insanity or death. You know, death is like, you know, no recovery. It's too late. So that we're seeing that something greater. And as time goes by, you know, and I'm sure you'll see it right now through this video because it's happened to me. This thing that they're talking about happened to me. So when I make an example that, oh, this is what it looks like, I'm seeing it right now with my own eyes, I become of service and I become of help without any effort on my part. It's already done. It's like you witnessed it, you saw it. That's what happened with me. I witnessed it. I saw it from that day on that I witnessed it and saw it. I came to believe. I haven't uncame to believe. It hasn't happened. Sanity. So now I could tell that I could see that something could let me see if it's, you know, guilty or not guilty. If I'm, you know, sane or insane when it comes to I'm starting to see that there's something greater, and I feel it deep in my heart from going to meetings, you know, 7-8 months. I'm going to meetings. I'm sober, I'm not drinking. I've been focused on the first step, obsession, allergy. Now I see that the second step is possible, and then I take it, and then it's a done deal. It became part of my DNA. Step 1 and step 2 is a firm foundation. I took both steps. They're in my DNA. It's part of my recovery. And now I decide that if I had a choice between the first one, which is go back to the drinking where it takes you, or choose the power where I've never chose before, but I'm just getting introduced to it. That step 3 is you're making a decision to seek the power. And then my favorite part of recovery, because I got to wrap this video up, it's 14 minutes already, is how we look inward inside of us to see what's the thing that causes us to take that first drink. What's the thing, the self-will. So it says we make a decision and we write a 4-step. And the 4th step is broken down into 3 columns. And the 3rd column, and the 4th one we do with the sponsor, but the 3rd column is based on what part of self was hurt. So you have resentment, fear, and harming in the pursuit of what you want. These 3 things ruin life. They make life horrible. It goes from I want to live to I don't want to live. So resentment, fear, and harming in the pursuit of what I want is how self-will, it's not my will, how self-will moves around in this world. And I've been moving around on self-will for a while. That's why a lot of the things that I've experienced, the lows that I've experienced in my life were pretty low. And I woke up the next day and I was wondering, like, how did I get here? Like, if I had a choice, I would have never went to them areas or them spots or experienced those situations. So based on that, I had to learn that self-will is not my will, okay? There was a difference between my will and self-will, right? And I had been taken over by self-will. And self manifested in various ways was what has defeated us. It says in the book that we have to become convinced of these 3 things before we actually write the 4th step. And easy does it. It's not good to rush real quick and miss this, because you could miss an opportunity that's super important. And it's the decision between someone wanting what you have and someone not wanting what you have, and not ever getting that personality change because you went too quick. You went too quick and you missed the boat. First one is any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. Now, to me, what that means is like, okay, the old will that I was living on, that all my homeless buddies were living on, we were all running on one will, and you could easily label it self-will. You could go down the street today and see it. There's a lot of people that are running on self-will, and I could see it because, see, I've been relieved of that bondage. I'm looking at life from another perspective. That's very helpful to many alcoholics or many people that are seeking recovery. So I've been granted a gift that I had to earn by focusing and not flying through the step process so that I can be of service later, no matter what, without any effort. All the person has to do is want what I have. If they don't want what I have, I can't help them. They have to want what I have in order for me to be helpful to them. So back to any life run on self-will, that's one of the things can hardly be a success. And then we have made decisions based off of self, not off of us, not off of me, not off of you, off of self, that later on place us in a position to be hurt. Somehow I'm waking up in a position to be hurt. I never took a look at where it was coming from. So once I saw that, then I started to see that, wow, okay, there is this thing, self, and it's new to me now because I've only seen from self. I've never seen it from the other side, which is where I've been for a while now. I've been seeing it from the other side. And then self, right, this thing manifested in various ways was what has defeated us. And this is where a lot of the gift comes in, because once I know what's wrong with me and what took me over, it's the same thing that has taken a lot of us over, then I can help you. If I don't know what this thing is, then I can't help you. And a lot of people, see, people have self too. I'm not the only one. I have been harmed time after time after time again from other people that are stepped on my toes. You know, that they didn't focus in their recovery how they harm you, right? So that's why I needed to know that not to harm them. I needed to be that example. And it doesn't matter as long as I didn't do that to you. You know, I didn't do that because the step work I took was so serious at the beginning that I know that anyone that I meet, myself doesn't manifest into their life. And the makeup of self is based on 3 things. It's social, sex, and security. It's 3 God-given instincts. We wouldn't be human if we didn't have them, but we like to take them too high or too low. The lows are real low and the highs are too high. They're never at an emotional sobriety level, and this is what we try to achieve. It's like, you know, one of the gifts of sobriety. So we write about it and we take a look at it, and we, you know, go from 3 to 4. Like, we make sure that in between the 3 and 4, we understand that the, you know, the director of the show, and we understand all that that's what we were doing. We're trying to manage life to fit ourselves, or that's what we were always seeing life from, like a human without a higher power version. You know, I never saw it from a selfless place. I never saw what self was. I never saw the thing that was ruling my life. I never saw the thing that made me reach out for the first drink. So now that I'm getting experience with it, I'm going to skip over the 5th step. I'm not going to tell you what my 5th step is or what lows I've gone to, but I'll tell you that once I admitted some of the lows in deep depressing places that self took me, not me, self took me there, then I started to recover. right? I started to see, oh wow, like now that's what the point of the meetings are, is so that I can go and recover from this while I'm sober, so that I never have to pick up the first drink. And if I didn't recover from this, that I would have a hard time. I would have a hard time in my recovery. So I admit, and some of the things that I did, like he did, right? Like he did too, just to different people. You know, that's the beautiful thing about we do the same things, just a different situation. But we got to recover from these things. We got to try, like, once we know how, like, we harmed other people, the whole point is in our future, in our new life, in our sobriety, we don't harm other people in the future. This is how I'm living out the program. And it's okay, like, it's okay if other people do it to you, as long as you're not the one doing it to them. And this is something, it's like a code. It's got to be like a code that you, like, live by. If you want to be good, if you want to be good and not be a wreck, not be going into this world and people see you like, oh, it's this guy, the one that harmed me, the one that didn't care about me, the one that, you know what I mean, he said all these things or was lying, or, you know what I mean, the one that used me, or the one that confused me about, just, you know, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. That's why I want to be, also, real quick, the personality change, right? I'm so closed before step 5. I'm so closed. I'm not really kind of talking to people. I'm not communicating with them. I never know what's going on. I'm talking at you. I'm not communicating. See, a lot of the things that I was taught early in recovery is your recovery needs to be so good where words don't even need to be said. You just go, huh? And the person goes, huh? They just understand, because it's another level of understanding. It's like my higher power is connecting with the other person's higher power. It's not just me talking to you or talking at you. And if the higher powers aren't connecting, it's like you have to communicate better. And that's one of the gifts of being past step 5, which is a very important step in recovery. It's like you don't really feel like recovery, like you're going anywhere, until you admit where self-will took you and know about what self-will is. And you have to know about self-will just as well as you know about the obsession and the allergy and how they trigger each other in step 1. Now it's like step 1 all over, but it's step 4. You have to know the problem is self-will. It's not you. And a lot of people say, oh, the problem's me. I'm the problem. When it's really not. It's self-will. It's the fact that you've been self-reliant and you didn't know what self was until you got sober and you're in recovery. And you needed to see another person that was armed with the facts about the thing that helps you reach out for the first drink. If you're not aware of self-will, how are you going to help somebody else get relieved of this bondage of self? If you don't know what self is or self-will is, how can you help another person? I don't see it. If you're bonded to self, how can you give freedom to another person? If you're walking around into this world and you're harming people, how are you going to give freedom to other people? How can you be like, yeah, want what I have? I'm just walking around harming this place. No. See, where I'm at, you know, is step 5 to me was like about 9 months, 10 months. So it was like 4 years ago, man. You know what I mean? Not only have I made that decision to turn my will and my life over, I took a look at step 4 and step 5, and I made them part of my DNA. See, all these 12 steps are part of my DNA. And my job here, which I'm getting paid nothing for, is to show you an example of what I look like after 5 years and where I stand and how much progress and growth I've put into my sobriety, where I can touch another person, reach, you know, transmit, you know, things of where I'm at now, to give it to you now where you're at 30 days, a year, 2 years, 10 years, to transmit where I'm at now through this video to you, so I can get to you, so you don't have to necessarily meet me in real life or wait to touch me to see if I'm real. Like, yeah, I'm real, you know. So step 6, right? I'm going to move on to 6. I don't want to make this video too long. So step 6 is we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Now, remember I said there was self-will, right? So they're not really my defects of character. I've been running on self-will, so self has been taken over. And, you know, it's basically like the 7 deadly sins. Like, yeah, we do them, but it's not really because it's us. It's because we have been self-reliant. We've been relying on self-will. We've been relying on social sex security instincts. We never saw past them. They ruled our life. It was the central fact of our lives. We never saw life any different. And because we were under the influence and self-will, that we harmed a lot of other people, and these defects of character developed. You know, before we picked up the first drink, like, yeah, things were great. You were godlike, you know, you didn't really have all these defects. But once you started doing things like, you know, stealing from people, ripping people off, you're like, wow, you know, you felt like you could cheat the system. You felt like there's a way where I could get to point B quicker if I just use this character defect. And you don't really take a look at it until you're in recovery. And some people don't really make it to recovery, right? So, and once you go to recovery, like, you got to stay in recovery, right? And it's so hard to stay in recovery, right? Or is it so easy? Like, we don't know. We have to experience it for ourselves. And that's why we have to figure out ways to transmit the power to another person to help them. And it's not easy. It's not easy. Trust me, I've struggled with it. So entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Now, you know, today, yeah, I have some of them, right? But here's the thing. The key word is all. It's to get them all removed, because they're so useless, right? And other people bring back the character defects in me, right? It's not like, all right, I gave them up to God in 6, right? Like, I was sure of self-will. I was sure I admitted the 5th step. I sure I didn't hold on to anything of where those dark places were. I got to the place where I felt, okay, I'm entirely free of all of them. The resentment, fear, harmings, fear is so useless. You know, it's so useless in recovery that it's mind-blowing how useless it is. Depression, you know, it's like, with fear, depression's guaranteed, you know, but without fear, when you're fearless, you know, and you have courage, depression's kind of put to the side. You feeling useless is kind of put to the side. So, man, you know, the key word is to get them all out, right? And then once we let go of all of the character defects and see that God slowly removes them, then you start to become a selfless person. And step 7 is all of me, good and bad. It's about, like, having, like, another checkup with yourself. Like, okay, like, let's see what time it is. See how recovery's going, right? Like, we made a decision in 3, talk about 9 months sober. And here I am, you know, I've had another couple months go by. I've been going to meetings. I did the 5th step. I've had an experience. Just recheck where I'm at, you know, and it's to have all of me. Like, you give your whole self to God, like, to have the good and the bad, and may I do thy will always. You know what I mean? It just becomes, you get closer to God after 5 and 7, you know? And I'm going to go through this quick because this is the part where, you know, everything that I've learned from 1 to 7, step by step, little by little, I've adopted it. It's part of my recovery. It's part of my DNA. And the 8th step, I just rewrite. It's kind of like a 4th step, but it's now your whole attention isn't just resentment, fear, and harmings. It's about who are the people that while I was reliant on self-will, who are those people that I manifested into their lives? And for example, stole their TV or ripped them off or took their money and never paid them back, or loved ones that cared about me and I just disregarded them. And how this cycle with 11 years of being blind to the how you were hurt, because the whole point of the 8th step is to see how you hurt them. It's not the fact that you hurt them. It's to see how you hurt them. And you write them, and they're in this world, right? They're in this world, so, you know, they hold a key to freedom. And they give you that key to freedom when you meet them and you make that amend when you go to them. So step 8 is just a preparation for 9. It's to sit there and take like a big break in your recovery and focus on the others. Because this is like the 3rd phase, right? The first phase is God, 1, 2, 3. Second phase is with yourself, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 8 and 9 is with others, right? So now we're focusing on the 3rd part, the 3rd phase. This is the phase before we're like giving stuff away and being of service and being all this really excited when I ain't done the work. Like, no, it's about like getting the work done, making sure you're solid, and you know the step, I mean, you know the details of the steps, and you know what you're talking about. You're not just talking randomly, goofily to everyone. You know what the steps are. You can explain every detail, and you're of service, and you're helping. So once that debris of all the stuff that you have done in the past is starting to be dissipate. You're not really walking around harming people. You've made some amends. You've made an attempt before you're halfway through. You start to get these promises. I'm not going into the promises. I'm not going into them that deep, but we're going to know a new freedom, right? So the old freedom that we got when we put the first drink in us, it was a freedom, man. This freedom overrode every other freedom. And now we start to know a new freedom, having 1 through 9ing it, not just 9ing it. Not just step 9, having understand the obsession, the allergy that I can't manage, the came to believe it's after it happened, the decision, I chose the power, I chose between 1 and 2, I chose the decision. You know, now I'm starting to put it all together. Social, sex, security, this is why I reach out for the first drink. Yeah, self, keep it down. You don't want it manifesting in other people's lives. You don't want to go around harming people and doing all that. You don't, and you want to know how you harmed them and what happened so that you could, you know, regroup and really make sure. Because if I went to harm someone in any way today, my first thing would be, oh my God, I got to go fix this ASAP, or I can't sleep, because that's how serious I take my recovery. So we run that, you know, and what we learn when you share it with another alcoholic, it's like, wow, like now I have others. I could do like, you know, mini 5th steps. Like if something happens, like I could tell someone, you know, like what's going on with me. You know, I have another way out. I have another freedom now. I'm not alone anymore. Like there's other people that work the program and I go over to them, but I got to make sure that I really want what they have. I have to be so sure of this, because my life is on the line. And the extremist that I was, guys like me die. We don't make it, right? So I can't have someone in my life that I'm trusting that's working just a not a 100 program, you know? Like the guy's got to be 100% solid. But I got to help people, right, that are not 100% solid, get 100% solid, and you know, arm them with the facts about the disease that they have. They're not going to run away from it. It's not going to go away. 10 years from now, I'm still going to have the disease. It's just going to be treated, right? And a lot of people say, oh, I wake up with untreated alcoholism. I wake up. No, it's not true. That only happens when you're not doing the deal. When you're doing the deal, you wake up with gratitude. It could be the worst day. You still wake up with gratitude because you're trained from the steps, from the previous steps. So God, ourselves, others, 3 phases, wrap up 1 through 9, becomes part of our DNA, becomes part of our recovery. Now we focus on the first part of the 4th phase, which is step 10. This is the combination of what I learned on 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 combined in one big boy step, because we got so good at this recovery thing that now it becomes part of us, right? 4 through 9 becomes part of us. And 4 through 9 is step 10. That's what step 10 is. It's the combination of all 4 through 9 in one big step, and we learn it and we practice it. The only thing is that I have heard and I've witnessed happen, the only problem with step 10 is people in recovery tend to think they're too good for the program, and guess what they do? They outgrow the design for living, which is really 4 through 9 after you've made that decision. Because once you make that decision, it's a done deal. You don't need to wake up and turn your will and your life over. It's already happened. It's already done. In 4 through 9, you turn it over. Step 3, you're figuring out faith. You don't really know faith. 4 through 9, you find the faith. You have the faith. Step 10, you're applying 4 through 9 on a daily basis. It becomes part of you. It becomes part of you. You're sold. And having experienced this, if I go do something wrong to somebody, boom, immediately call. If I do something wrong, I can't sit comfortable in my own skin. That doesn't sit well with my step 10. That's why I have to quickly fix it, amend it, pray it away, talk to another alcoholic, wrap it up. You know, 7, pray it away. 5, talk to another alcoholic. Self-will, touch up on 4. What part of self was hurt? You know what I mean? 9, make the amend if I have to. It's a representation of 4 through 9 real quick. In one step, and we do this constantly. We do it as we go. It's a as needed step. And you know, tomorrow I have another 24 hours, and that's what the 12 steps are. They're a 24-hour program, or it's a 12-step program worked 24 hours a clip. You know what I mean? So 24 hours go by, boom, got to work it again and work it again. And that's the gift of the program. So we quick at 11 and 12. 11 is all about having a nice, beefy, chunky, sweet understanding of step 1 through 10. I mean, dude, you got to know each detail. It has to become the most important thing. There ain't no I got too good for the program and I outgrew it. Having 1 through 10 down packed, I mean solid, firm foundation recovery, blood raw recovery, unshakable foundation starts to develop. And that's what 11 is all about improving your conscious contact with God, right? It's like this thing. It's like, as you can see, and up to this point where you guys have watched the video, you could see that, dude, this ain't me living my life anymore. Dude, this ain't Velady no more. This is a whole nother thing. Something came in, took over. I'm showing you the example, and I gotta improve that thing by working 1 through 10. Well, not just 10, working 1 through 10. With step 1, meaning like I could help another person with step 1. They just have to want it. They have to want it. And so on 11, I'm helping that thing grow me. I submitted myself to be changed. I didn't really change. I gave my whole self. I gave my whole self up to be changed. Now I'm just improving. That thing is improving me. It's getting me better. And having that be completely obvious to other people. This is where the 12th step comes in. People have to see that this is so obvious in you that they're going to want what you have. Not only want what you have, they're going to get what you have very quickly if they just make up their mind that they want what you have. Because this thing gets transmitted. It's the transfer of information from one alcoholic to another, and it happens. And that's why you got to gravitate towards people that know the program, that are doing the deal, because they could really help you heal and make you not ever want to go back to taking the first drink. And here's the thing. All right, I'm 33, so I have the remainder of my life. There's still a chance that I could drink, but it's very highly unlikely. For one reason, this is why it's highly unlikely that I'll take a drink, is because I did not quit drinking. See, I've said to myself over and over that I quit this time. This is it. This is the last one. And I never made it. So this time I tried something else. I tried not quitting, right? And not quitting is a gift. It's like an amazing thing on its own, not quitting. So I didn't quit. And I teach other people that, hey, when you say you quit, this might not be the right way to go. So with that being said, you know, I carry this message. Yeah, I've adopted it. 1 through 11 has been part of my DNA. I could tell you every detail about it. I'm very passionate about telling people about how I recovered and my process up to this point. And so therefore I have something very golden that I can give away to another alcoholic, you know, and help them not bump their head, and help them be selfless, and help them enjoy and love life, you know, without having, you know, it be necessary that you have this or that, or you know, oh, I'll be happy when this happens. Like, no, be happy now. You're getting robbed. There's a lot of things that I learned in recovery, and a lot of times people don't want to listen. People don't want to chill. They got somewhere to go. They're so busy that they miss everything. That's why I was like, hey, why not just make a video, man, drop it. It'll be a lot easier to reach them. You know what I mean? Nowadays, everyone's on their phone, so might as well just pop up on their phone and show them an example of recovery so that they can see what it looks like, and can always just click back to the video, that they don't have to see me in person. You know what I mean? It's an easier way to get across to the next person. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have more videos of these. I have like 3 recovery videos, and I have a bunch of skating. So if you want to see my you know, gifts, skills, talents, passions, all that, it's all on my YouTube channel. And you guys have a good night.